Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Sir Adrian Smith, Vice-Chancellor of the University of London.
Dean, colleagues, distinguished guests, graduands, ladies and gentlemen. As Vice-Chancellor of the University of London, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here to join in this afternoon's celebration of achievement and success. In addition to the excellence and eminence of our 18 federal member institutions, the Central University itself contributes to our collective national and international standing through the School of Advanced Study, the Centre House Libraries, and our international programs. The volume of our academic activity is quite staggering. This building contains over 4 million books, 70,000 journal titles, and 12 million historical materials relating to arts, humanities, and the social sciences. In addition to the 120,000 students at our federal member institutions physically here in London, there are a further 50,000 in 180 countries around the world studying externally for the University of London degree. And over 1 million others around the world are studying the university's selection of massive open online courses, MOOCs. We can indeed claim to be the world's largest classroom. Much to celebrate, and at a time when national, political and media preoccupation is quite naturally and properly focused on the economy and various forms of global mayhem, it's ever more important that we all argue for and celebrate the importance of universities, of learning and scholarship. Of course, universities do directly contribute to the economy through graduates with high-level skills, underpinning business and industry in sectors such as manufacturing, the life sciences, creative industries. But civilized society also requires critical intelligence that questions and challenges the status quo and respects and nurtures individual and societal inquiry. Issues of environmental sustainability, social and global justice and security require constant intellectual and ethical challenge, and that is provided by our brightest and best graduates across a range of disciplines. Responding to these challenges involves a complex mix of technical and human behavioral, societal and legal understanding. Just reflect for a moment on the major societal challenges facing us. Living with environmental change, climate change, aging and well-being, dementia, global security, sustainable energy resources, the impact of the digital economy, food and water security. These cannot be viewed or addressed solely as technological issues. Meeting these challenges requires, in at least equal measure, an understanding of individual and social behaviour. And in addition to responding to externally defined challenges, universities also perform the vital task of defining and exploring new areas of challenge, new interfaces of knowledge, inventing new paradigms. In short, thinking out of the box, bringing together creative minds, both within and outside the conventional academic framework. And all this in the context of an increasingly diverse society, which in turn presents increasing human challenges in understanding and tolerating diversity at both individual and group levels. And one of the great virtues of our universities is that they provide both an intellectual and a living community experience that contributes significantly to that required tolerance and understanding, and help shape the ethical lives of the next generation of leaders, irrespective of discipline. So today, let us celebrate our universities, and in particular, my congratulations on behalf of the University of London to all those whose achievements are about to be recognised and honoured. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Roger Kane, Dean of the School of Advanced Study.
Let me begin, graduates, by echoing the Vice-Chancellor's welcome and send my warmest personal congratulations to each and every one of you graduating today. It's a real privilege to be a part of your degree ceremony. Degree ceremonies really are one of life's defining moments. Today will, I am sure, live on forever in your memories. You've put in a huge amount of work to get your degree. All of you today are graduating with postgraduate degrees. Some of you will be looking to take the next step on further academic study or to improve your job prospects. Some of you may simply have wanted to satisfy your intellectual curiosity. And what better reason for study is there than that? Curiosity is at the heart of what it is to be human. Universities unlock the talent and potential of curious people. Young and old, challenging all of us, students and academics alike, to think critically. But before we go further, let me speak to the family members and friends and supporters in the hall, people who are hugely welcome here this afternoon. And let me tell you something about our School of Advanced Study in the University of London. So our school lies at the heart of a truly global research and scholarly community. And at our own heart are 9 postgraduate institutes covering an incredible range of subjects. And taken together, these institutes provide what is a coordinating centre for humanities subjects. Humanities subjects like classics, European languages, history, English, philosophy, law, and more. It's a real multidisciplinary facility for scholars from around the world. Just take one of our institutes, our Commonwealth Institute. It has political scientists, sociologists, historians, and lawyers, and hosts our Human Rights Consortium. The consortium and its timely work on refugee law initiatives, led by Dr. David Cantor and Dr. Sarah Singer, and its teaching in human rights, led by Damien Short and Corinne Lennox, bring all of our School of Advanced Study subjects to these morally and most difficult of contemporary global challenges. And in that context, it is a huge pleasure to welcome Baroness Shami Chakrabarti, who will receive an honorary degree a little later this afternoon. Our School of Advanced Study here in the University of London is the only institution of its kind in the UK, if not in the world, to be nationally funded to support and promote research across and between a wide range of subjects. I believe we are well on track to cement our position as an indispensable component of the United Kingdom's humanities research infrastructure. We are really excited by all of this. We've got the ambition, and the University of London, of which we are a part, has provided some very welcome additional funding so that we can refresh and build anew our academic capacity. And having the right talent on board is the lifeblood of any institution. So over this last year, we've been spreading our net internationally and have recently appointed a number of really gifted experts in their fields, from many disciplines, from law to psychology, from English to digital history, from the history of art to digital humanities. And a number of our new colleagues, I'm pleased to say, are on the stage before you today. Now, another milestone in 2015 was the celebration of our 20th anniversary. And it may sound a bit dramatic, but I believe that the University of London School of Advanced Study is at a defining moment in its history. It's on the cusp of something really great, and it looks forward to the next phase of its development with that excitement. So, let me then say a bit about what we've been doing on the ground over this past year, day by day. And by we, I mean our 230 staff, our 100 or so visiting fellows, almost 800 research fellows and associates, and of course, you people here today in your robes, the graduating cohort of our student body. So let me paint last year, first of all, in numbers. Well, we organised something over 2,000 conferences, seminars and workshops. Most of them here, either in Senate House or in our Bloomsbury buildings, but also in other UK universities, in the University of London's Institute in Paris and elsewhere overseas. About 65,000 researchers participated in those events, and 1/3 of others from across the world have viewed the podcasts of discussions which we put up on the internet and which we archive in our digital repository. We ran training courses for 7,000 graduate students. We bring postgraduate students to London from other universities to help everyone provide a richer experience than can perhaps be provided in small departments in other universities with only a handful of people doing PhDs in our subjects. And we also take our research training events out onto the road across the UK, and we also make them available interactively in our virtual learning environment, therefore available to everyone across the world. Training the next generation of researchers is one of the most important things that we do here in the School of Advanced Study. Almost 200,000 visits were made to our libraries to consult our books and research materials, and a significant proportion of those are unavailable elsewhere in London. It's a real privilege for people to be able to come and work in our libraries in Bloomsbury and browse our shelves, but increasingly we are supporting those who can't visit us in person. More than 12 million individuals worked over the internet on our 230 information platforms last year, made 25 million virtual visits to the school, downloaded about 90 million items. These are big, very big numbers. The digital is very much the future, and it's a future that the School of Advanced Study embraces wholeheartedly. We've got a brand new Professor of Digital Humanities this year. The appetite in China and Southeast Asia alone to study Western culture and history is simply staggering. The prize for us is that we can shrink geographical space and make ourselves equally useful to researchers wherever they are in the world, provided they've got an internet connection. So numbers, 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 and big numbers at that. Numbers which are achieved in the context, as the Vice-Chancellor has said, of the financially challenging times in which we live. There's great pressure on public finances, and we receive a large majority of our running costs from the public purse. So I think it's absolutely essential for us to demonstrate how we deliver public benefit with our public funding. UK taxpayers, in my opinion, have an absolute right to be assured that we're making good use of their money. Now, an important way to do that is to demonstrate to the public, to the taxpayer, what it is that we do, and to help everyone understand why what we do is important, how what we do adds to the quality of their lives, as well as driving economic growth. Now, it may be a bit trite, but there is truth in the saying that medical research saves lives, but humanities make life worth living. So what are we doing to publicise the positive impacts of our subject's research? Well, we run a national festival of the humanities every year. We call it Being Human. Its object is to transform public engagement with humanities research in the UK, and it ran for over a week at the end of last month. What we wanted to do was to show how humanities research can inspire and enrich our everyday lives, help us to understand ourselves, our relationships with others, and the challenges we all face in a changing world, and to foster world-class knowledge that is vibrant and vital, and most importantly, accessible to all. Now, we did this, as in previous years, with partners, the British Academy, which is the UK's National Academy for the Humanities and Social Sciences, with the Arts and Humanities Research Council, which is the prime funder of humanities research projects in the United Kingdom, with the Wellcome Trust, which is a major research funding charity, and with a number of commercial publishers. It was led by Professor Sarah Churchwell, and we established 5 festival hubs in universities across the country and facilitated events run by more than 70 UK universities, partnering more than 220 cultural institutions, museums, galleries, theatres, a genuinely UK-wide reach with events in 45 cities. University of the Highlands and Islands in Orkney, down to the Cornwall campus of the University of Exeter in the far southwest, and from Belfast to the University of East Anglia, to London and to Paris. More than 250 events free to the public. In Cardiff, researchers from the University of South Wales brought stories of long-dead residents to life by a series of dramatic readings in Cathay Cemetery. In Liverpool, researchers on maritime history and musicologists staged a series of sea shanty happenings across the city and invited people back to the city's Maritime Museum for programmes of talks. And tours of this building, our own Senate House, explored the hidden tunnels and spaces below our feet that played such an important role in the Second World War when Senate House accommodated the Ministry of Information. And there was more and much more. Sarah assembled a talented team to make it work, and I don't mind saying that the launch event, which we held here in Senate House, with hundreds of people moving around the building, looking and participating in the many events that were showcased, finding out what it means, what is meant by the humanities, was simply one of the days in this job of which I'm the most proud. It was a great day for the school, a great day for the University of London, and I think a great day for humanities subjects. Now, the festival would not have happened without SAS leadership, nor could it probably have been centred anywhere else but in our rather unique institute, the University of London School of Advanced Study. So if you missed it, come back next November. If you're not going to be in London, well, we expect to go global next year with planned hubs in Singapore, Melbourne, Cape Town, the East Coast of the United States, and in Paris. So across the world, there will be a global Being Human celebration in the last week or so of November in 2017. So that's a bit about who we are, what we've been doing. Let me end with a few words to you graduates about what it means to become a graduate of the School of Advanced Study. All of you are leaving today with degrees of the University of London that will be recognised throughout the world as evidence of your achievement at the very highest of levels. We know that your knowledge has been hard-earned and you should be proud of it. My challenge to all of you graduating today is that you use that knowledge well. But just because you're graduating today does not signal the end of your connection with the school or with the University of London. Our graduates play an integral role in our unique global network, and we are united as part of a community of University of alumni living and working all over the world. So let me welcome you to your membership of this vibrant and diverse community and invite you to continue to play an active role in the life of your University of London. And to help you keep in touch with us and with each other, the University of London Development Office that I see sitting here in the hall this afternoon, our Development Office works with each of our institutes and across the school to make sure that you receive regular news and updates about the fascinating work taking place in the university, as well as inviting you to events and opportunities to support your continued professional and personal development. So if you're interested in finding out more about what the University of London can offer you as alumni, what you might do to help us, please do visit the alumni table, which you'll find across in the Macmillan Hall, where we'll be going after this ceremony for a reception. And the team from the Development Office will be on hand to answer your questions and to tell you about their work. And to start off, our new relationship with each of you who are shortly to become graduates and then our alumni, we'll be sending you an electronic copy of the School of Advanced Studies' latest annual review, which illustrates your school in words and images and numbers. And please do pass it on and forward it to friends and to families. So, close to my final words, to all of you graduating today, thank you for your contribution to the life of the University of London. And on behalf of the school, the academic staff and its professional librarians and administrators who all work together to promote our academic objectives, can I say it's been a real pleasure having you here. We take enormous pride in your achievements, each and every one of you. So now may I ask you perhaps just for a moment to applaud the staff who've guided and supported you towards your degrees. Some of your staff are represented on the stage, but please join me in applauding the work of all the staff of the School of Advanced Study, University of London. So graduands, the very best of luck to you all for the future. Enjoy the ceremony, enjoy the reception afterwards. I look forward to talking to as many of you as I can. Thank you very much indeed.
The presentation of graduands will now commence. I therefore call upon Professor Roger Kane, Dean of the School of Advanced Study.
Vice-Chancellor, I beg leave to present the following graduands.
Graduands of the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies awarded the Master of Law in Advanced Legislative Studies, Asad Berki. Michael Dowder, awarded with distinction. Bono Refilwe Teleso, awarded with distinction. Jankiki Wayne, awarded with distinction. Graduands of the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies awarded the LLM in International Corporate Governance, Financial Regulation and Economic Law. Ayodele Adamola Odedemji Ajanaku. Sam Bereket, awarded with distinction. Anna Marie Davis, awarded with distinction. Henry Day. Marilyn Awa-Dua. Shirley Pouget. Andre Vanterpool. Graduands of the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies awarded the Doctor of Philosophy with a thesis entitled Towards Sound Sukuk Markets, Structural, Legal and Regulatory Issues, supervised by Professor Barry Ryder and Professor Shizu Nakajima, Salim Al-Ali. Graduand of the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, awarded the Doctor of Philosophy with a thesis entitled The Challenges of the Modern Self-Determination in International Law, supervised by Dr. Ilyas Bantakas and Dr. Konstantin Stefanou. Ahmed Mustafa. Graduands of the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies awarded the Doctor of Philosophy with a thesis entitled The Emerging Popularity of International Arbitration in the Banking and Financial Sector. Is this a fashionable trend or a variable replacement? Supervised by Dr. Mahmoud Bagheri and Dr. Kern Alexander. Baha Hatami Alamdawi. Graduand of the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies awarded the Doctor of Philosophy with a thesis entitled International Financial Stability as a Public Good, the Rules and Architecture for a Global Quest, supervised by Professor Modzandinas and Professor Helen Zanthaki, Chiara Orlandini. Graduands of the Institute of Commonwealth Studies awarded the Master of Arts in Understanding and Securing Human Rights. Mina Ahn. Megan Cowley awarded the Albie Sachs Prize for the Best Dissertation. Anastasia Denisova awarded with distinction. Annabelle Higgins awarded with distinction. Dangwole Kinatete awarded with distinction. Anna Ruth Lanchin. Joseph Lehmer. Maria Eugenia Nakash. Ellis Seddon. Emily Laura Spence awarded with distinction. Justine Taylor awarded with distinction. Graduands of the Institute of English Studies awarded the Master of Arts in History of the Book. Patricia Marion Ferguson awarded with distinction. Margaret Joachim awarded with distinction. Sarah Pink. Graduates of the Institute of English Studies awarded the Master of Research in the History of the Book. Marlene Nelson Chan. Anthony Russ. Graduates of the Institute of English Studies awarded the Doctor of Philosophy with a thesis entitled The Making of the Book of Kells, 2 Masters and 2 Campaigns, and supervised by Dr. Michelle Brown. Donaher McGowan. Graduands of the Institute of Historical Research awarded the Master of Arts in Garden and Landscape History, Jane Elizabeth Alvey. Deborah Kim Colette McCarthy. Leanne Newman. Sarah Randolph. Graduands of the Institute of Historical Research awarded the Master of Research in Historical Research, Rodney Curtis. Tracy Logan. Wendy Toole, awarded with distinction. Graduand of the Institute of Historical Research, awarded the Doctor of Philosophy with a thesis entitled The London Furniture Trade, 1640 to 1720, and supervised by Professor Matthew Davis, Laurie Lindy. Graduands of the Institute of Modern Languages Research awarded the Master in Research in Modern Languages, Stephanie Homer, awarded with distinction. Graduands of the Warburg Institute awarded the Master of Arts in Art History, Curatorship and Renaissance Culture, Roya Adeli. Grace Philippa Davis. Laura Eliza Enrique Vasquez. Erica Lane, awarded with distinction. Graduands of the Warburg Institute awarded the Doctor of Philosophy with a thesis entitled On the Cusp of Legend and History, the Myth of Alexander the Great in Italy between the 15th and 16th century, supervised by Professor Jill Cray and Dr. Alessandro Scaffi. Claudia Daniotti. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the presentation of graduates from the School of Advanced Study. There will now be a short musical interlude performed by one of our students from the Royal Academy of Music, Miss Sita Silva. You're requested to remain in your seats during the performance as the ceremony will recommence immediately after. Thank you, Zita, from the Royal Academy of Music. We now move on to the conferment of the honorary degree. I therefore call upon Professor Philip Murphy, Director of the Institute of Commonwealth Studies, to give the oration for Baroness Shami Chakrabarti, CBE, our honorary graduate.
Vice-Chancellor, in accordance with the Charter, statutes and ordinances of the University, I present you for the award of Degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, a person once described by the Sun newspaper as the most dangerous woman in England. She may be better known to you as Shami Chakrabarti, who stepped down earlier this year after 12 years as Director of Liberty, and by her most recent title, Baroness Chakrabarti of Kennington. I think it's my duty to describe her path to notoriety, and perhaps to set your mind at rest, Vice-Chancellor, to explain why the School of Advanced Study wishes to honour such a dangerous person in this way. Shami Chakrabarti grew up in northwest London, the daughter of Bengali-born parents. And it was her mother who introduced her to some of the most dangerous materials known to mankind, books. As she later explained, quote, "It was my mother who read and taught me to read. Of all the precious personal, political and professional life skills, reading has been the most important," unquote. It was a household which valued both learning and its constant companion, debate. Shami remembers that it was in discussion with her father that she first started to develop her convictions about human rights. Her talent and hard work won her place at the London School of Economics, where she studied law, and the University of London is proud to count her among its most distinguished alumni. She was called to the bar in 1994, and in 1996 took up a post as lawyer at the Home Office. 5 years later, she moved to Liberty as an in-house counsel. Or, as Yasmin Albai-Brown once put it in The Guardian, she gave up a safe job with many perks for Liberty's, quote, grungy rooms in Southwark, South London, unquote. But the move was to prove a momentous one. Indeed, if you had any sort of belief that our actions are guided by fate, it won't escape your notice that the precise date of her arrival at Liberty was the 10th of September 2001, the day before the terrorist attacks on New York and Washington. Shami's period of legal training coincided with the startling events of 1989 to 91, which witnessed the collapse first of Soviet rule in Eastern Europe and then of the Soviet Union itself. Some heralded this as the end of history, at least in terms of history as a battle of ideas about how human societies should be constructed and managed. And on the winning side were notions of democracy, individual freedom, free markets, and yes, human rights. In the UK, this appreciation of the value of human rights found its expression in the Blair government's 1998 Human Rights Act, which incorporated into British law many of the articles of the European Convention on Human Rights. That's not to suggest, of course, that organisations like Liberty were simply pushing at an open door. The government's Terrorism Act 2000 attracted criticism for threatening civil liberties. Nevertheless, in principle, if not always in practice, human rights discourse appeared to be in the ascendant. 9/11 changed all that. While Western governments continued to pay lip service to the principle of universal human rights, it came under increasing threat from enhanced surveillance, attempts to sidestep judicial processes, and even the creeping reappearance of forms of torture, albeit cloaked in euphemisms such as waterboarding. In the UK, the government announced a temporary derogation from certain obligations under the European Convention and rushed through the 2001 Anti-Terrorism, Crime and Security Act, which allowed foreign nationals suspected of terrorism to be detained indefinitely without trial. It was against this background that in 2003, Shami took over as Director of Liberty. She's widely credited with turning it into one of the most effective campaigning organisations in the UK. It scored a notable success in December 2004 when the House of Lords ruled that the indefinite detention of foreign nationals was incompatible with the European Convention on Human Rights. In the years that followed, Liberty also campaigned against proposals first for a 90-day and then a 42-day period of detention without trial for terrorist suspects. It also campaigned successfully against the introduction of compulsory ID cards. In the course of these battles, Shami became the public face of Liberty, or as she once put it, the human logo. But that of course comes at a price. History tends to deal kindly with those who take a stand against arbitrary and oppressive acts on the part of the state. But in their own time, they rarely have an easy ride. And as a historian, I'm all too aware of how great the personal cost can be. In my own field, that of British imperial history, there was something of a sensation a few years ago when the UK government revealed that it had been secretly holding on to thousands of files from the final years of British colonial rule. Some of these related to the brutal methods used to suppress the Mau Mau rising in Kenya in the 1950s. Of course, the eventual release of these files was a welcome development, but they contributed to the myth that official secrecy kept the British public in almost complete ignorance of the terrible acts being committed in their name in Kenya. In fact, even at the time, there were a number of whistleblowers who were prepared to risk their livelihoods and reputations to expose those abuses. The problem was that so few people were prepared to listen to them. But a number of very brave public figures were, including the late great Labour MP Barbara Castle, with whom Shami bears very honourable comparison. Castle tried to raise these issues in Parliament and hold the government to account. In response, she was shunned by her own front bench and condemned in the press as a friend of terrorists and murderers. What Castle didn't have to face was the sometimes viciously intrusive nature of the contemporary popular press and the trolls of social media, for whom character assassination is all too often an easy substitute for reasoned argument. The label of the most dangerous woman in Britain, bestowed on her in The Sun by columnist John Gaunt for her efforts to uphold human rights, was only the tip of a veritable iceberg of vitriol. But of course, what goes around comes around. When in 2008 Gaunt described a Conservative member of Redbridge Council as a health Nazi during a row about the borough's ban on smokers fostering children, he was sacked by his then employer. And who should spring to his defence but one Shami Chakrabarti, citing his right to freedom of expression under Article 10 of the Human Rights Act. And just to add to the delicious irony of the situation, The Sun itself has vigorously condemned the Act and campaigned to have it repealed. And that's the point about human rights. Most of us, I suspect, could think of circumstances in which we might support the curtailment of someone else's human rights in the name of some general good. But when our own rights are curtailed or ignored, that's a different matter. The right to freedom of speech is a particular area in which double standards seem to abound. It's something almost everyone claims to support in principle, but no one really seems to like in practice. A bit like the England football team. My heartfelt exercise of my freedom of expression is you being offensive and violating my safe space. This is one aspect of the human rights agenda with which universities have to grapple on a daily basis. We sometimes feel ourselves crushed between government directives seeking to combat the ill-defined forces of radicalisation and student groups demanding we deny a platform to speakers they regard as having unacceptable opinions. Yet, however dangerous it might sometimes seem, the free and open exchange of views is essential to a university as libraries or indeed graduation ceremonies. And despite having suffered more than her fair share of personal abuse and vilification, Shami has been absolutely consistent in her trenchant defence of the importance of freedom of speech. In a lecture at the British Library in November last year, she argued, quote, "Just as libraries should be free and open and books must be saved from the fire every time, debates, however shocking, difficult and painful, must be had. There is no such thing as no platform in the internet age, merely closed and narrow platforms where hate goes unedited and unchallenged by humanity and reason," unquote. There are many reasons, Vice-Chancellor, why the School of Advanced Study wishes you to confer the degree of Doctor of Laws on Shami Chakrabarti. We are the home to what was the first interdisciplinary MA in the UK on human rights, and we are proud today to congratulate its latest cohort of graduates on their degrees. Many of them will be seeking to establish careers for themselves in the field of human rights advocacy. They will do so at a very different time from Shami's own days as a recently qualified graduate, when we can no longer be confident of governments even paying lip service to the value of human rights. For them, Shami serves as an inspiring example of what can be achieved when passionately held principles are combined with courage, dynamism, and political acumen. As Roger Kane has mentioned, the school is also home to the Human Rights Consortium, which seeks to promote and facilitate research in this field, both nationally and internationally. And we also host the Refugee Law Initiative, a vibrant and highly relevant centre of expertise, which recently launched an extremely successful master's course in refugee protection offered by distance learning. Yet almost every one of our 9 institutes which make up the school can claim some interest in the subject of human rights. Debates about the rights and duties of the individual was fiercely argued in classical and Renaissance times, as they are today. Indeed, they infuse the whole corpus of humanities scholarship, of which we regard ourselves as the present-day custodians, passing the baton on occasions like this to the next generation. It's no coincidence, as Shami herself has noted, that from its foundation in 1934, Liberty, or the National Council for Civil Liberties, as it was then known, has attracted the support of leading writers and intellectuals, including in its early days E.M. Forster, Vera Brittain, and H.G. Wells. And the cause of human rights continues to be promoted through literature and the other creative arts, as well as through more mainstream political activism. Indeed, Shami has often pointed to the self-defeating nature of discarding human rights in the name of the so-called war on terror. As she once put it, quote, "Human rights is the counter-extremism narrative," unquote. If we claim to be struggling to defend a set of values that will enable future generations to avoid the brutality and oppression that has characterized so much of human history and which continues to afflict so many people today, we surely have to accept that the notion of human rights is a vital part of that inheritance. It is in this field that Shami has already made a distinguished contribution, but it is probably not the only thing for which she will be remembered. A little while ago, she presciently told a journalist, quote, "If there was a sci-fi movie and Shami had 9 lives, she would probably do something different in each of them." Before this year dawned, she'd already offered hints as to what those alternative lives might have been. Having already served as Chancellor of Oxford Brookes University in September 2014, in September 2014, she was appointed Chancellor of the University of Essex. She is also a visiting Fellow of Nuffield College, Oxford, and Master of the Bench of the Middle Temple. She served as a member of the Leveson Inquiry into the conduct of the British press, and even carried one of the 8 white Olympic flags at the 2012 opening ceremony. And last year she published a highly praised book on liberty, a personal manifesto drawing on her vast experience in the human rights field. But 2016 has certainly witnessed a new phase in her career as she stepped down as Director of Liberty. Shami once described herself as a recovering lawyer. In that respect, her appointment to the post of Shadow Attorney General in the Labour Shadow Cabinet might be seen as something of a relapse, but it's a post in which we fully expect her to make a prominent contribution to British public life. In conferring the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, we are honouring both the icon and the person, and expressing our pride in one of our most distinguished alumni, a pride that extends to the achievements of all our graduates today. Vice-Chancellor, it is with great pleasure that I ask you to confer this degree, and I present to you Shami Chakrabarti.
I now call upon Baroness Chakrabarti to respond.
Vice-Chancellor, Dean, esteemed colleagues, fellow graduates, family and friends, it's really unfair to ask me to respond to that. I don't recognise that old lady at all. And Professor, thank you so much for the kindest speech, which in its own way was the best argument for human rights and was also overly kind to me. It's an enormous privilege. I've had an incredibly fortunate life, as you've heard, but it is honestly the greatest privilege to be able to gate crash this wonderful celebration of achievement, because my fellow graduates have earned their degrees. They've worked incredibly hard, and this is a school of postgraduate advanced learning in the humanities, and so it's a particular privilege to share in this celebration for me. I have not earned this degree, and so it is particularly humbling to be able to share in this extraordinary and intimate celebration this afternoon. Why do we even do this? These people know what they've achieved, and they know what great opportunities their degrees will unlock for them. Why do we still come together and wear funny clothes and listen to heavenly music? Why do we still do this? Because we are human beings. We are individual and social creatures. We are creatures of emotion and logic and faith and reason. And the humanities are under threat in this country, on this continent, and on this planet, because humanity is under threat. And yet we are still here. We are still here as social creatures, celebrating each other's achievements, and I hope giving each other solidarity and optimism for the future. It's been quite a year for this planet, and it hasn't always been completely positive. But I believe that out of adversity, opportunity can come. And moments like this are moments of pure joy that in my view need to be distilled and bottled and saved for the rainy days that may yet come, on the way to better days. And the real graduates in this room, I have no doubt, will be part of the solution and not the problem, as will this distinguished school and this wonderful university. Human rights are for human beings. They are the protection and the celebration of everything that is best about us and everything that we have to look forward to and protect. I take this this plastic PhD, sorry, this honorary doctorate, not because I'm a fraudster, but because I'm a clever recovering lawyer, sorry, I'm not recovering anymore, relapsed lawyer who can make an argument. And the argument I leave you with is this: what if degrees aren't just certificates of past achievement, but are invitations to treat, invitations to work harder and achieve more and do more in the future? If that is part of what it is to receive an honour like this from a great institution like this one, I humbly and gratefully accept. Congratulations to my fellow graduates, and thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Baroness Chakrabarti. That concludes the presentation of academic awards for the 2016 graduation ceremony for the School of Advanced Study. I now call upon the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Sir Adrian Smith, for his concluding remarks.
You'll be relieved to know I shall be very brief. Thank you all for being here. Thank you in particular, Shami, and for those very wise and beautiful words. Just a little housekeeping before I formally close. When we finish and process out, would the graduates in the hall, please remain seated, else we'll have utter shambles when we try to photograph you later. Families and friends, in the meantime, make your way across the hall to the reception, and we'll all join you as soon as the photographs are complete. I formally declare this ceremony closed.